we are with Vanessa Lustig on camera. Thank you so much for joining us and allowing us to come to your home studio.
Thank you for visiting.
It's awesome. It's really cool to see all this new work that you've been working on, you and Adam. Can you tell me about how you guys started working together and like who does what in the pair?
So it's been kind of on and off and just like an increasing collaboration. So I was an artist working by myself for many years, and then I was living in Mexico, and then we moved back from Mexico after COVID, and we've been here for 3 years. And because
did you all meet in Mexico? Or?
No, we met here actually. Yeah, on a trip that I was, doing unrelated things. So what happened was that when we moved back right in the middle of COVID, or towards like the end part of COVID, and so housing was really expensive. So this was actually the only apartment that we could get, and because it's such a small space, once I started working on my artworks, it just kind of started taking over spaces. He had seen me working before, but because we were in larger spaces, I think there wasn't like a direct contact with him, because it was, like if there was a separate studio space, then you're not really in contact with it. You just leave the artist to their devices. Sure. But here, it's kind of like a mixed use space. So at some point, there's kind of like no option but to have direct contact with what an artist is doing. And so eventually when I started kind of embroidering things or making the hand felted sheets of wool that we make, he just kind of started becoming interested. And vice versa, because he's a jeweler. And so when he started doing his jewelry stuff, I started also kind of being influenced by that and doing kind of like wearable art forms that resemble jewelry but go a little bit further than that. So it's kind of just been like intermixing over time, over these years.
I saw one jewelry piece you had. It was like a necklace.
Yeah, it's this one. Okay, I pulled it apart to reset the necklace part. Peut-être. So it means...
Are you French?
My great-grandfather was French, and so we have that base, and then I lived in France for a while. Okay. So, yeah. So I have...
How do you pronounce it again?
Peut-être.
Peut-être.
Yeah. So it means maybe. And so this is this is kind of like a side project that started.
What is this made of?
It's hand-felted wool also that I cut and shaped by hand.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so so that kind of kickstarted the newest arm of practice.
This was a collab?
It was kind of, in a sense. We did this kind of was the seed that was born from the artwork that we did for Camp Gallery's textile exhibition last year. And it was kind of like felt lettering, which... Is
that the one you have on the wall?
Yeah, the one on the wall. And we'd never done that before, the lettering, the hand-cut lettering.
How do you pronounce that?
Sororité.
Sororité, it's exit, right?
No, it means sorority, sisterhood.
Okay. What is exit then?
Exit?
Yeah.
Sortir.
So similar, isn't it? I don't know.
Kind of,
I don't know. I thought that's what it said. Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be that too. So
I don't know.
When we did that, I don't know if you saw, but it also says peut-être on the tiny letters above the wording. Yeah. And so it was kind of like maybe sisterhood, a sisterhood that sometimes occurs, but sometimes doesn't.
Right.
Like this idea of women supporting each other that sometimes does happen in a good way and sometimes not so much.
And that was for women pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse last year?
Yeah, for last year. Okay. And so after we did that and I did this necklace, then I started thinking about wearable art forms. So I did this necklace, and it's just been like the seed that started this whole thing. And so yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Very cool. And so this is stuff that you're going to be showing at Feria Clandestina.
Yeah.
In next week.
Next week. Yeah.
And well, maybe this week when you guys see this. But can you talk about this collab? So and what your involvement, what Adam did, and then the third party.
Right. So this it's kind of like a multi-branch thing. Our practice is very like, we do what we want, but then it gets complicated to explain. So once we started doing these necklaces, a new arm of practice was born at our studio, and we call it Objet Porté, which means a worn object or a wearable object. So really the focus was to make artworks that can live with you, as in you use them every day and they come with you and they accompany you. And they can give you a sense of better well-being or not. It just depends on the collaboration. So we decided to make a program with global artists for collaboration. So we just got a curator for that, a Mexican curator. And he's gonna coordinate that program for us.
Cool.
And so this is the first drop from that. There's gonna be 4 drops every year, so 4 artists. And so what we do is we collaborate. We see what the other artist is doing. And for example, this one was with a dear friend who we've known for years. He's a museographer in Mexico. His name is Norberto Miranda. And he has this kind of brand that he makes where he upcycles agricultural plastics. And so these are plastics recovered from banana plantations, like, you know,
the wrapping.
The wrapping that protects the banana from getting bugs or blemishes or whatever.
It also like keeps the bananas from over ripening too much. Like it synchronizes the whole like process.
Exactly.
Right?
And so those are single use. So he recovers those, he cleans them up, and then he
that's crazy that it's only single use. Like,
I know, right? and yet here we are.
Yeah.
So so I've spoken to him at length about this, and we got really nerdy about things. But basically what's going on here is that he refers to these as kind of like these ancestral membranes. So he calls them ancestral plastics, which we love. And so he thinks of them very much in a post-anthropocentric way, which we do also with our works in our studio. So that was kind of like the bridge that linked our 2 practices. And so he made these kind of like ancestral plastic membranes, and he thinks of them kind of like in a cellular way, you know, like cell functions,
like
and
break
things.
it down like really to the
And so when we were doing the work that's currently at Camp Gallery for this year's fiber show, we did there's a focus on mushrooms and spores and how meaning is something transitory.
What was it called? Don't ask me about the mushrooms.
I cannot teach you about the mushrooms. And that's such a weird title.
Who came up with that?
I like memes. I don't know if you've seen the other works hanging. They tend to be meme based, like internet meme based. Meme. So I saw this meme when we applied to this call. The call was for this year. It's called "Don't Be Absurd." So it was based on like traditional literature based absurdism and philosophical absurdism. And we had just finished watching the entirety of Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah.
Like the first part and the newer part. And so we were all like, David Lynch, meaning, and what is going on? And we were like getting nerdy about it and looking things up to see what they meant and stuff. And so we proposed a thing to Camp Gallery for that exhibition, which is completely different than what it turned out. At the same time, I saw a meme online that said, I cannot teach you about the mushrooms, and it's on Reddit, and it's some, like a biology or something student, and he had asked his professor if they could teach them about mushrooms, and the professor got a little bit aggravated and was like, I can't teach you about the mushrooms. We don't know what they are. They're not alive, they're not dead, they're not this, they're not that. Like, we don't know what they are. And so that kind of clicked for us, and we were like, well, yeah, like everything can be in a sense absurd because meaning is not a static thing, even though we would like it to be. And so that when we finished making the mushrooms, it was like a bunch of mushroom caps that are mounted in a circular fashion, and that's what these are, kind of a spin-off of that, like spores that live on this kind of ancestral plastic. And so there's like a cultivation, let's say, going on of what plastic means, what plastic could mean, what well-being could be, because these, like the larger one has a light a programmed light that will breathe with you so that you can have a moment of well-being wherever you are. And so it's kind of like playing with all these different aspects. All the works are a little bit multi-layered, but also I think in keeping, there was an interest because our last name means a little bit fun. We understand it like a bunch, every time we meet a German person, they're like, oh, Lustig. And apparently means like fun or like, you know, something enjoyable.
So the name of your collaboration is a joining of your two names?
The Atelierlustig? Yeah, it is. It's kind of, and we want to also honor that, whatever meaning could be interpreted from the last name itself, and start making our works before had been a little bit on the serious side, and so we want to make them a little bit more lighthearted or enjoyable. Yeah. So we came up with this. And these are called Petri Dish for obvious, because it's like a cultivating, like an area where things are cultivated. And so we think that this could be a fun way to cultivate well-being and meaning, whatever that may be, because you're just like carrying this thing around with you. You know, it has a little bit of Marimeco influence, I suppose, the bags. And
the lighting concept with the mushrooms, you know, that comes from this recent show, but also you did something similar last year at Feria Clandestina.
Yeah, we did that one up there, and that one's called Light Entity or Light Object 2.
And you had like some ambient sounds, like field recordings?
So that particular series comes from my MFA studies, where I got an MFA from Trans Art Institute, and it's a MFA in creative practice.
Where's Trans Artist?
It's a nomadic MFA. So they take like 10 students a year only globally, and then you go to residencies and then you carry out your own project.
Where did you go?
So I didn't go because my dog had cancer, my other dog. So it was a bit of a mess. So it's a self-led MFA. So really the intent of it is to clarify what you're doing in your artistic practice. So what I ended up doing was a lot of psychologically based research, and then translating things into kind of a visual language, and that's how we started using felt, actually. So what I was doing was...
It's a tactile sort of therapy.
Exactly, like within the context of kind of being also a semi-nomadic and moving countries and leaving so much behind and starting over and this and that, there was kind of a disconnect arriving to Miami, not just because the culture just constantly changes so quickly here, but because there's a huge disconnect here between kind of the reason why people move here. It's like paradise, you know, there's a beach, there's nature, blah blah blah, but then you never go to nature.
You're stuck in the hustle and bustle.
It's not
like
even
a vortex.
It's kind of like, if you boil it down to it, it's kind of like you're stuck in an air-conditioned box all the time. And so we wanted to kind of translate the experiences that people actually moved down here for, you know, the somatic experiences of nature, and we wanted to translate that into kind of like this aesthetic objects. And so that's where the series New Natures was born. So it's not bringing nature indoors, it's not bringing you outside, it's not that, it's literally kind of a reinterpretation of what can happen when the experience that you have in nature can be something that you can bring with you anywhere that you are.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else is doing that.
I mean, I know a lot of artists do similar things, I think, because they're working with these relationships, and I think that a lot of us feel that disconnect with nature, and philosophically, obviously, it's there at some point. You know, humankind made this decision to say, yes, we're separated from nature, and then there's also kind of this awareness that in fact we're not, because we're part of nature. And so what happens, how do you reconnect with that? And so, like, you know, as usual, artists, we have many different ways of approaching that. This is ours. I don't know. Maybe there might be somebody who's doing something similar or not. I don't know.
And speaking of doing things, who does what? Who added the lights and who works with the felt?
So I started doing the felt. I actually don't remember why I started doing the felt. I didn't learn felting here. I learned it in Mexico.
It's packed so tight.
Yeah.
Do you use like some kind of like adhesive or something, or
no? It's all hand felted
with the little pokers.
We use these tools.
Mm-hmm.
So these are felting needles, dry felting needles, and they have little barbs. Careful, it's really sharp. So we have that, and we have this single one here. And so what happens is that so wool roving naturally will felt to itself if you rub it, but you can actually kind of do it yourself just by the action of, so the needle
pushes it.
The way the needle is barbed is very similar in structure to how each wool hair itself is structured, like it's barbed at a microscopic level. So basically what you're making is a giant mat of hair that you can make using these needles. You can either make it tighter or make it looser. There's needles for different things. So these are all handmade. There's no machine besides these tools. Very simple tools. So I think the reason that I started using wool, and that was me, within my MFA, was because there was this consideration of being post-human and all the theory behind that, and all of the theory in action network theory, which is another thing from Bruno Latour. And he was talking about kind of how we can be part of phenomena that occur. And so this being an aesthetic phenomena, what is my part in it? What am I doing as an artist together with these materials that for me are alive? Like, not alive in the sense that they breathe, not alive in the common definition that we understand aliveness, but it has existence. So for me, that's alive. So all of these, each individual strand of hair, which is wool, is kind of coming together into this organism, which I call an object entity. And so that's how I started using that, just because of the significance of the tightly packed, you know, it's kind of like that movie Everything Everywhere All the Time, and this is kind of that, like there's thousands and millions of little hairs all joined together, working together. And so once I started doing that, Adam was like, I could do that. So I showed him how. So he's like a self-taught artist in that sense, because he comes from other things. He comes from jewelry, and before that from real estate and stuff. And so it's just slowly been kind
the art of the deal.
Part of the deal.
No, I said the art of the deal, the real estate stuff.
Yeah.
Just joking.
I'll sell that. It is a deal.
And then the lighting, like
so the lighting was part of the MFA as part of like these responsive textiles, but I usually work in, as you can see here, and all the other works, they're monochrome. And so everybody always was asking me, where's the color? And I was like, I don't know, because I come from photography originally. I was trained as a photographer, and so for me, there's color because it's white, and so it's additive, and so all the colors are there for me. But with Adam, maybe it's because he has Miami roots, because you know he's a local and whatever, but he's like, they need color. And so finally he has started to have like more of a presence, let's say, within the studio itself, not just in terms of ideas. Like if I come up with this, he'll fine-tune them, so he helps me a lot in fine-tuning all the projects. And then it has happened that projects that don't have a strong form, he comes in and he's like, let's do this, and then suddenly it just comes together into this
kind of fine-tuning.
Yeah, so like he kind of like he in a sense he functions as a kind of like
an editor,
like an editor or like glue. I'm gonna say like some sort of creative glue. Like
sure.
I think that the work that's in camp right now, it would not have worked as it is, even in the same form, if it was just white color like that one. Just because of the setting of it also. It just would have been like bland, I think, and he was the one who not just suggested adding colored lights in the programming, but also it became kind of like he did one part of the programming of those lights, and I did another one, and so they're both on loop in the gallery, which nobody knows that. But they're both like each one of those lights is now programmed with these loops where he has an interpretation of breathing, and then I have an interpretation of breathing, and the work itself has another interpretation of breathing, and so it just kind of like becomes this very powerful statement of co-creation, of his co-creation, of my co-creation, and the materials together. And that's why it just becomes this absurd thing where everything just comes together somehow. You don't know how, it just is, you know, like mushrooms.
It's a meme in itself without really having any text to it, aside from the name. And I recently saw that you guys, speaking of interpretations, there was a recent poetry reading at the gallery, and there was a woman who...
Lady. Her name is Lady, and I can't remember her last name, sorry. But she, so they are part of like a group that comes together. I think they're called Pop-Up Poetry Miami, and we didn't actually know that was going to happen, so it came as a surprise. We did meet her during the opening, and she did tell us that she wanted to do a poetry, but we didn't imagine that it was going to be like a whole, it ended up being kind of like a whole evening programmed around poets who were reinterpreting works from the point of view of their own poetry, which was fantastic because I think that it created kind of like an unlikely intersect between kind of a written word or spoken word and visual arts. It doesn't happen often. I think usually artists, we tend to depend on curatorial texts or texts that we develop ourselves during our research, and that ends up being like the words related to the work.
Press releases or whatever. It could be,
or press releases, and it ends up being kind of like a more clinical view of the artworks. And the fact that they kind of translated in their experience of the works that they chose into works was very interesting because, at least for us, I don't know about the other artists, but I'm sure they would agree. For us, it was kind of like letting us see a different side of the emotional experience of the artworks and a different use of words than we would usually use within a gallery setting. And so we thought that was absolutely fantastic. And there was some mention of the gallery of perhaps taking the results of that evening and turning it into a book or a booklet or a zine or something, which I absolutely hope that happens.
Cool.
Because I think that would provide the public with another way to access visual arts. You know,
did you capture the whole thing? Because I just saw her introducing it. I didn't actually see her.
No, I didn't capture the whole thing, but there was somebody filming there that evening, so I'm pretty sure somebody has the whole thing complete. But I think it's very interesting as a kind of exercise.
Did someone do one for each? Because, I mean, there's over 150.
No, I mean, that would have gone on for like weeks. I think if it would have been the case. I think that would be cool, though, to do that as an exercise for next year or whatever. No, it was pretty kind of, I don't know how they organized it on their side, but for us it seemed kind of very inspirational in the sense that they were there apparently on opening or maybe after, and they saw the exhibition and
something
they were like,
moved them in your piece.
Something moved them. And several poets selected several pieces, and they decided to do spoken poems about them.
Very cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, like on the Instagram there was I forgot his name. Is his name also Steve? But on our Instagram we uploaded two. So we uploaded the poem that Lady did for us, and there was this other poem from this guy called Scott Raven. And that one just blew us away. I mean, the one that Lady did was fantastic in the sense that it was a very kind of psychological view, which for me is awesome because I'm a trained psychologist. So I was like, yeah.
That's cool.
She was like, she went on, and I was like, yeah, oh my God, yeah. But The one that Scott did was very kind of gutsy in a sense.
Whose did he? What artist?
So he didn't. I think he visited with his baby, and so his impression was to see it through the eyes of his baby. And so what he ended up doing was he ended up going through the entire gallery. It was kind of more like a poetic performance in a sense.
Oh, was that the aha guy?
Yeah, the aha guy. With Aha Baby.
I saw clips of that. Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, and so he went, like, that was just the end part, but he went through the whole gallery that night, and he gave each of those works an aha moment, and he had us all in stitches. We were cracking up, but at the same time, I think it was a revelation that of kind of like an emoting of the experience of the work. In spaces where you're usually not allowed to emote out loud, you know?
And, you know, speaking of things that you're not supposed to do, that's something I love about your guys' work is that you encourage people to, like, interact with it, touch it, and things like that, which is kind of, you know, one of those, you know, taboo things that you can't go into a gallery, which that's pretty cool that you guys have that element to your work. Obviously, people are going to be able to play with these bags and things.
Yeah. So that's been an intentional thing. So when we started, we had, for example, this work.
That's the stitch work?
Yeah, that's hand stitching. It's very tiny hand stitching, which I can't do anymore because I'm blind now.
There's glasses for that.
Yeah.
No. That's really cool.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I love that. What kind of fabric is that?
It's silk. So it's silk. It's cotton embroidery on silk.
I was going to guess silk,
it's
but I didn't
silk.
guess
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
It's very fine.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, you know, the photographs that you were showing me earlier, that's the same kind of work.
Yeah.
With the stitch,
exactly.
But a different fabric.
So what was happening there is when I was exhibiting those, and the ones that you took a picture of, those were exhibited in a museum, and the museographer, who, by the way, was Norberto. Norberto. He did those cases. He did, like... there was an issue of how to exhibit embroidery artworks and keep them safe at the same time, because for some reason people just want to innately touch when they see embroidery, which I think is, like, as I thought about
it's a 3D element.
It's a 3D element, but more than that, I think there's something about it that makes people curious enough to want to reach out and touch it.
I think anything 3D makes people curious to want to touch it. Like, when there's a texture there, you like...
Exactly. And so when we started exhibiting these works publicly, the embroideries, and I started noticing that we kind of had to swap people's hand away, figuratively, or sometimes even literally. Like the first exhibit that I had here was at Feria Clandestina when we came back. It was like, I think it was 3 years ago now, and we exhibited those works on the glass, and people, artists,
the New Yorker,
and the public.
Or the New Yorker, that other, what was the name?
No, it was at Feria Clandestina.
Yeah, but the hotel, what was the hotel?
Oh, it was the other one. What was it called? Gold Dust.
Gold Dust, yeah. That's right.
So we hung those kind of like in the middle of the group exhibition gallery that they had back then, and they're just bare. And so what ended up happening was that people were reaching out and touching it, and they were not made for touching because their embroidery is on vellum paper, which is very delicate. Like, if you touch it too hard, it makes a mark. Never goes away on vellum paper. So it's tracing paper, it's vellum paper. And so artists and visitors, they were all like,
Wow.
And I had to, unfortunately, kind of at some points even swat their hands away, you know, because they kept on touching. And so I always felt like, from that point on, very guilty about that. And I was like, well, why can't they touch it? Like, why am I making things that people want to touch but then they can't touch it? That's literally like me as an artist wanting people to be curious about work and then literally saying, no, you're not allowed to be curious. So we started talking about it, and we were like, how can we make things that people can touch and interact with? And so that's why during the MFA I started doing like these kind of like somatic interpretations. Like this one, you can touch it. It's kind of messed up now, but I mean, you can touch it.
So much.
It's been touched, yeah. And so we started making works that people could interact with directly.
Really cool.
And that kind of also adds another dimension of life to the work itself, where the meaning, like in this work at the camp gallery, when you remove one of the spores from the surface of one of the bigger mushrooms and you felt it to itself, like it changes the meaning because it changes the composition. And not just that, we've invited people to like give the spore some sort of meaning for themselves and then place it wherever they want. And felt it back onto the work. And so literally it's a work that's always changing meaning. A meaning that you don't know about.
Unless you're with the person who just changed it.
I mean, even if they don't want to tell you. And so it's kind of like that absurdness of looking at a work and you don't know, we made it. We don't know what it means anymore. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that.
Vanessa, this is amazing. I appreciate you so much talking about your work and all the, I guess evolution of where you've kind of gone with this. And I'm really excited to see the completed actual bags when you have them displayed.
Yeah, it's gonna be something.
What's the room again?
It's 216 at Feria Clandestina with Camp Gallery.
Yeah,
next week. And so we invite people. These are interactive, but we are not providing a power bank. So if you guys have like the power bank for your phone that you charge your phone with when you're on the go, then you will be able to connect your power bank to the works and see.
Bring your power bank.
And
is Norberto going to be there?
Norberto, no, because he lives in Guadalajara, and he.
The current administration probably wouldn't let him come.
Well, no, that's not even it. I don't want to like out him, but he has not renewed his visa, so he's unable to come.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a strong Mexican presence at Feria Clandestina this year. There's always some sort of Mexican, but I think this year we have a couple galleries that are from Mexico at Feria Clandestina, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have another collaboration with Norberto lined up that we submitted, and hopefully we'll see if it gets accepted or not.
Cool.
And then it's been kind of like ongoing relationships with artists. So what we want to do, especially with Objet Porté and whatever comes of these relationships with these artists that we're collaborating with, they kind of gain momentum on their own, and then we just end up doing more things together. So with Norberto, there's going to be he does inflatable exhibition spaces in Mexico, which fantastic. And so we're going to be doing one together. Like he is making an inflatable out of recycled plastics, I think. And so it's kind of like a membrane thing that you can peek into or out of. And I'm doing the interior element out of, that's going to be our largest interactive felt to date. So we'll see.
Are you going down there for that? You have to install it.
I mean, maybe not. Because I'm in my naturalization process, so I am loath to leave the country right now. So that's like an interesting part when you're an artist and you can't travel, but your work goes off and does its own life without you, and you're just like, all right, have fun.
Sure.
So we'll just see how it works out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, Vanessa, thanks so much for for talking with me and hanging out.
Thanks. Anytime. And I think as next year is going to be interesting. We have a lot of things coming up. So would invite everybody to keep in touch through our website, or sign up to our newsletter if you want to keep in touch. Or even if you're an artist and you're like, I want to do something like that, and you want to reach out, then we're always open to collaborations.
Very cool. Well, you have to tell me about these things and we can put it in the body of
the definitely. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you real soon. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Feria
Clandestina.
Yeah.